Alabama abortion laws are already one of the strictest in the country. They outlaw abortions for cases even of rape and incest. But that apparently is not enough for the Alabama Attorney General, Steve Marshall. He now wants to go after poor women who want to get an abortion out of state. My name is Dina Sayegh Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's break this down. Now, what happened after the Dobbs opinion is that states who wanted to outlaw abortion passed laws, and states who wanted to protect abortion, like California, passed constitutional state amendments protecting it. But apparently that is still not enough. Again, the fact that Alabama even outlaws it for cases of rape and incest is just not only immoral. I can't even imagine being a woman in that state, and unethical. But now he wants to go after women who cannot afford to travel by themselves to go get a legal abortion in another state. He wants to go after those nonprofit organizations who help poor women go get a legal abortion someplace else. Now, we know somebody with money, a woman with money, can go ahead and cross the border and get that state herself. That's not an issue. They can afford the plane trip or take time off work. We are only talking about women who cannot afford the travel, the time off themselves. Those are the women who need the help of a nonprofit. And those are the women who are being targeted here by the Attorney General. So what happened after the Dobbs opinion came out? The Attorney General went on a podcast and issued a statement that is at the heart of this lawsuit. I'm going to read that statement so you can hear exactly what he was saying. He said, quote, "There is no doubt that the abortion ban is a criminal law, and the general principles that apply to a criminal law would apply to this, a classic felony, the most significant offense that we have as far as punishment goes under our criminal statute, absent a death penalty case. And so provisions relating to accessory liability provisions would have applicability involving the abortion ban. So, for example, if someone was promoting themselves out as a funder of abortion out of state, then it is potentially criminally actionable for us. And so one thing we will do in working with local law enforcement and prosecutors is to enforce this. And that is, so he makes this statement on a podcast, right? And the Alabama does not, in its law, say that women can't travel to another state and get abortion. And the reason why they don't have this law is because Justice Kavanaugh, in his opinion in Dobbs, says that he thinks that this new Dobbs, which is allowing states to ban abortion, is not restricting states from, restricting women from traveling to get an abortion. He thinks, in this opinion, he thinks that that would not be allowed under each of our individual right for interstate travel. So this is what's happening. This is kind of the framework of what's happening with this Attorney General. We have the Dobbs opinion allowing the states to ban abortion. But in that opinion, Kavanaugh, who is a critical vote on the Supreme Court, specifically says that it's not meant to restrict women from traveling because we have a right to travel. We have this right of interstate travel. This was just a side note, of course, right? The actual issue wasn't in front of the court. There wasn't actually a woman who had been criminalized for doing this out of state. But it's a very crucial side note because without Justice Kavanaugh voting for that, most likely the Dobbs, maybe wouldn't have happened. So if it's in front of a court again and Kavanaugh or, Roberts kind of agree on that point that states aren't allowed to restrict interstate travel, then it would fail. So this is why, in essence, Alabama didn't just create a law saying women can't go to another state and get an abortion, because they're afraid that even this very conservative Supreme Court would overturn that law based on what Justice Kavanaugh does in that opinion. So to do a workaround, and this is where I think it gets kind of ugly. As a woman, it feels kind of disgusting, like how hard you're trying to make this so difficult for the most vulnerable people in your community and your state. You decide how you think you're going to, further your own interests. and maybe rising political star, is by saying that any organization that helps give a woman money to travel across the state, that act is illegal and that act is going to be prosecuted. And he thinks, this attorney general, that he's being clever, but actually he's being unconstitutional. And the nonprofit there is certainly calling him out on that and deciding, hey, you don't get to just say these things and it be led there, just end there. And so the Yellowhammer Fund is the nonprofit that sues him. And they sue him in the federal district court there in Alabama. They're asking the court for declaratory and injunctive relief, which means they're asking the court to decide, make a decision. Is this unconstitutional? This ability to prosecute a nonprofit for helping a woman cross state lines. And also not just to say that it's unconstitutional, but the injunction that they're asking is to prevent them from being prosecuted. So they go in court, they ask, hey, this statement is now out there and you're now threatening us and we are now afraid of helping poor women. Again, this is just poor women. A woman who can afford to get across state lines is going to go ahead and do it anyway. The attorney general, this has nothing to do with them. This is just the poor women, the most vulnerable women. That's the one he's prosecuting here. That's the one he's targeting. So anyway, so he, in response, just files this motion to dismiss. And in it, he's doubling down and he's saying, oh yeah, not only do we think we're going to prosecute, but we think that this is a criminal conspiracy. And because this organization is helping this woman, they are now a criminal conspiracy. And I'm going to read from you exactly what he says in his motion to dismiss. He says, Alabama law clearly provides that a conspiracy formed in this state to do an act beyond the state, which if done in this state would be a criminal offense, is indictable and punishable in this state in all respects as if such conspiracy had been to do such act in this state. An elective abortion performed in Alabama would be a criminal offense. Thus, a conspiracy formed in the state to have that same act performed outside the state is illegal. Plaintiffs identify no constitutional provision that would bar the state from enforcing the law. So, they've already, how are you going to say here that this is a criminal conspiracy when you're not even committing a crime in the other state? You're not actually even committing a crime in Alabama. It's not a crime to travel to a state that where there's abortion legal. Again, they didn't pass that law because they were afraid it was going to get struck down. And so this is just like out of thin air. He's trying to say it's a criminal conspiracy because, again, it's not a crime to cross state lines and go do something legal someplace else. And so it's certainly not a criminal conspiracy to cross state lines and do something. You have to have it be illegal in the state where it occurs in order for there to be conspiracy, a criminal conspiracy. So in addition to all of the really strong legal arguments that the nonprofit has regarding the due process violation, the fact that they have some First Amendment rights here they're being trampled upon, and most importantly, the fact that if it's not illegal, where you take the action, there can be no criminal conspiracy regarding that action. At the end of the day, I also just think that there is just so immoral to target these poor women in order to try to, again, make a name for yourself. Again, the legislature doesn't have the votes. They have not passed a law saying it is illegal to perform an act of abortion in another state. So this person, this man is just targeting these poor women who already have to make the most difficult, the most private healthcare decision of their lives. And now they have to travel. And if they can't afford it, these nonprofits are just trying to help make the situation a little bit better for them. And if you remember, this is also for people who have been raped and also if people are pregnant because of incest, because Alabama has banned those cases. So you are talking about somebody who has potentially been raped, potentially can't even afford to cross state lines to do that where it's legal. and they're getting some help in this really dire situation. And now you want to go after the people who are willing to help somebody with such a dire situation with a criminal charge? It's beyond me that this is where we're at in 2023. And this is where some GOPs think that we can be at. I mean, Nikki Haley was the only one who seemed to have any sense of this during the GOP debate when she talked about really just talked about the reality of how dehumanizing the GOP takes this issue. And the Alabama's actions here, their attorney general, it's not just dehumanizing, it is disgusting how they are treating their most vulnerable population in Alabama. My name is Dina Sayegh Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Follow us for more at MeidasTouch.com and follow me at Ask Dina Doll across all platforms.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.